Okay, so this is Unit 1, Lesson 7, and we're going to be talking about adding fractions with unlike denominators, which means the bottom number is different. But because we know our multiples and because we know our factors, this job should be a little easier for us today. That's what I'm hoping. So what I want to draw your attention to is this hole that we have right here. So here's a hole. And our first problem that we're going to do is half plus 1/3. Okay? And this half plus 1/3, we can't add it until we have a denominator that is the same. What do you know about 2 and 3 that have something in common? Oh, you said that very quickly. You all said 6. But in case you're like, huh, what is she talking about? There's this awesome visual here, which, again, had somebody showed me this visual when I was learning fractions, there would have been like this angel and the clouds partying, and it would have been amazing. So what I want you to see here is that we have the same size hole 3 different times. And you have this in front of you as well. So if it's hard to see on the board, you still have it at your seats. But this hole can be split into 2 halves or 1, 2, 3/3, or better yet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're right, the common denominator here is 6. And you have to do each fraction by itself to figure out what the equivalent fraction is with your multiplier. So what did I have to multiply 2 by to get 6? 3. Whatever I do to the top, do to the bottom. Or whatever I do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. You can be filling these in with me as I'm doing it up here. How did I get from 3 to 6? What did I have to multiply? 2. And whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do to the top. So now my new addition problem with equivalent fractions with a common denominator is 3/6 plus 2/6. So much easier to add, don't you think? So what was our common denominator? 6. All right. Using these same ideas, let's look at our next one right here. And I think I'm going to try to enlarge this a bit so you can see it a little bit better. Is that better? Okay. So looking at this 1/4, I just want to look at this 1/4 plus 2/3. Now, we still have the same hole, but we know that the relationship between 3 and 4 is 12, right? That's the number that they share. That's the multiple that they share. So how do I get from this 4 to this 12? I heard it. You're going to multiply by 3, and whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And how did I get from this 3 to this 12? Multiply by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So my 2 new fractions that are equivalent to make this with a common denominator, a denominator that is the same, 3/12 plus 8/12. It's going to equal 11/12, and our common denominator is what? 12. Okay, now I'm going to throw you a curveball. I have 1/4 plus a half. Are you seeing this? Yes. 1/4. There's a lot of common multiples that 4 and 2 have. 8 being one of them, and 4ths being the other one. So let's set these both up. If I want the common denominator to be 8ths, what would be my new addition problem? Okay, so this equals 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's right. But is that complicated? Is there a lot of little pieces there? Yeah. Is there a simpler or a less common denominator that we could choose? Yes. we know that 4 and 2 are very similar. So we could keep 1/4 the same, multiply the bottom by 2 and the top by 2, and get 2/4, and still get something that's exactly the same size, only a lot simpler, with only 3 pieces as opposed to 6 pieces. So that's why it's important to make sure that you pick that common denominator that is the smallest one you can pick. So the common denominator that I would use would be the 4, because then I don't have to simplify. To simplify. Because it's already simplified. 3/4. Doesn't get any simpler than that. Okay? Now, does 1/2 plus 1/3 equals 2/5? Turn to your neighbor right now and discuss that. Why or why not? No. A lot of you are saying no, because there's not a common denominator. You don't just add straight across. That's not how adding fraction works. You need the same size pieces to add. So you might do a common denominator of 6, which would be times 2 times 3, which would be 5/6. But you don't add straight across on a fraction. I think we all kind of know that. All right. Why don't you turn? So I know this is blurry, but we're going to continue to do the same thing we've been doing. We're going to look at the problem. We're going to try to figure out what the common denominator is. You have this in front of you, so if it's blurry, look at what's in front of you. This is just to help you visually if you want to watch this at home later. You're going to, hold on. Looking at 10 and 5, what do you think is the common denominator there? Just yell it out if you think you know what it is. 10. Good job. So we're going to keep 7/10. We need to get 1/5 to a denominator of 10. How do we do that? Times 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 2 is 2. What is our answer? 9/10. Congratulations. Good job. Now, 11, 3/11, and 1/2. That one's a stretch. There's not really anything that is more common. I heard it. The common denominator is 22. So that's going to be 11 times 2 is 22. 3 times 2 is 6. And we're going to add that over here to 1 times 11 is 11. 11 times 2 is 22. So you're just going to add straight across now, because once you have a common denominator, you can do that. 17 22nds, I guess. 6 and 4. Oh, think about that. Is there anything smaller than 24 that they have in common? Because 24 could be a common denominator, but that's going to mean you're going to have to simplify. I heard it. It's 12. How do you get from 6 to 12? Times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2 plus, how did you get from 4 to 12? Times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So now you can add straight across. 2 plus 9 is 11/12 is the sum. 3/8 and 2/5. What's the first number that comes to your mind? 40. Is there anything smaller, do you think? Just think about 8s. Think of your multiples of 8. Nothing other than 40. 40 is going to be your least common denominator. So 8 times 5 is 40. 3 times 5 is 15. Plus 40 on the bottom. I had to multiply by 8. So 2 times 8 is 16, which is going to give me 31/40. How are you feeling about this? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, it's just the hardest part is going to be, if you're struggling figuring out what the common denominator is, you need to think about the multiple that they both share. So like 10 and 15. I know my multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I know my multiples of 15 are 15, 30, 45. I don't need to go any further because I've already heard one that they share. What is it? 30. So I'm going to put 30 on the bottom. Now, how did I get from 10 to 30? 3. Multiply by 3. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 9. 15 times 2 is 30, so 4 times 2 is 8. 17 thirtieths. Again, use your knowledge of the multiples. Think of your multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, right? Hey, did I already say one that they share? 8. So a common denominator here, 5/8 isn't going to change. I got from 4 to 8 by multiplying by 2, 7/8. This takes practice. So if you're not getting it right now, that's okay. And I will post this video, so if you need to rewatch it tonight, you can watch it again. And then you're going to do Think Central with it, which will tell me whether or not you get it. So, looking at, we're going to draw now a diagram to help us find this, and maybe you'll see it a little better, okay? Bashir walked 1/4 mile to his friend's house, and then another 3/8 mile to the park. Make a diagram to help you find the total distance he walked. Well, what's a common denominator? What's a multiple that they both share? 8. So I'm going to do this in an 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if I was looking at this in fourths, here's 1/4, here's 2/4, here's 3/4, here's 4/4. Do you see that? Do you see how they fit together? So here I have 1. This right here equals 1/4 plus 1, 2, 3/8 equals what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. So the way I did that is I changed 1/4 into 2/8 plus 3/8. 2/8 is an equivalent fraction. Bottom line, you're looking for those equivalent fractions. And like I said, the more you do this, the easier it's going to be. Meg and Marcus are making a latch hook rug. So far, Meg has finished 2/5 of the rug, and Marcus has finished 1/4 of the rug. What fraction of the rug have they completed? So X is what you need to find, and this is the 2/5 that Meg has finished and the 1/4 that Marcus has finished. Knowing what I know about common denominators, I can rewrite this to 20s. So 8/20 plus 5/20 equals 13/20 of the rug has been completed. It might be hard to see. 8/20 plus 5/20. How did I get the 5/20? I multiplied the bottom by 5 and the top by 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Yes, whenever you're trying to figure out a word problem, it's always good to put it with an X because that X helps you figure out what you need to find out. Last one. Of the songs downloaded from music, a website on Tuesday, 1/6 of the songs. Does red show it better than the blue? Yeah. Okay, so 1/6 plus 3/10 It says, what fraction of the songs were country or rock songs? Which means you're going to, of course, now this isn't showing at all. All right. So, looking at my 6 and my 10, I'm thinking of those multiples that they share. 30 is the one that I'm going to go with. Times 5 plus 9, because I multiplied by 3. 14 30ths, but here's the curveball. 14 30ths can be simplified. What number can go into both of those? 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2 equals 7/15. So this is the answer. Do I think you should have this 100%? Yeah. No. No. This is something that you're going to go over again and again.